Whoever brings me their heads will be wealthier than the Grand Nagus.
Oh, this was a really bad idea. Okay, shoot the ones that are in our way, but leave everybody else. We don't want to stun an entire bar full of people. Oh wait, this is a disruptor. Disruptors have stun settings, right? It doesn't matter. We need to get after Hassan. He's escaping. I can't believe he put a bounty on us. And half of these patrons are shooting each other in a race to try and get at us. They don't even realise we've slipped away. Right, we'll check his office to see where he is, or maybe there's a record of where he's gone. He's left a few more guards for us to deal with, but after what we've just been through, this is no bother. Hassan the Undying beams out just as we burst in, claiming that Nimbus is getting stale, so we move to see what information he's left on his personal terminal. Looks like he hasn't had time to wipe the drive. We've got everything we need on his weapon deals, slave trades, and it even looks like he's been embezzling from the Orion Syndicate itself. No honour among thieves, eh? He's got a contact in the Tal Shiar, codenamed One Eye. Likely the buyer for the Thalaron triggers we were here for. For now, we've got everything we can get from Shangdu, so let's return to the Armiger to pursue Hassan.
I might be willing to make a deal.
In orbit, Hassan and his fleet are cleaning house, as he puts it, raising it all to cover his tracks and start again elsewhere. We're only one ship against his fleet, but if we help the pirates he's trying to burn away, perhaps the enemy of my enemy becomes a friend. After all, if Hassan's branch of the Syndicate was the rotten glue that was holding Nimbus together, not a great structure, but without the Syndicate there's going to be all sorts of power vacuums and turmoil. So we set about aiding the pirate vessels not allied with Hassan. There are at least 5 we can save and repair. With each vessel liberated, we gain a new temporary ally and begin to build our own little pirate fleet. I guess if Starfleet doesn't work out, I've always got a career in organised crime.
I don't like the sun any more than you do. Get my shields back online, and we have a deal.
I really didn't need your help. Had it all under control. But if you're looking for allies, help me fix my phase alignment couplers. I'll fight for you.
Hassan is the prey. Assist me in repairing my gravity plate.
Is that Erogen? They're originally from the Delta Quadrant. They're a long way from home, but we have heard rumours of their alliance with the Tal Shiar. That's true, or whether they're pirates or not, right now we're allies.
Get my deflector working, and I'll fight for you.
With 5 ships rescued, we mop up the remaining squadrons of Hassan's forces, leaving only the big man himself as he swoops in on his war barge dreadnought. As intimidating as the name suggests, it is 6 against him, the Armiger and the ships he's spurned by trying to cover his tracks. The large vessel is clearly of Orion design. Its organic curves and compact design are a hallmark of the species' ships. It has numerous turrets situated around its hull, but manoeuvrability isn't its strong suit, though it is designed to take a beating. Like wolves surrounding a wounded bear, we pick away at its defences until a catastrophic hit finally destabilises it and it begins to explode. But the job's not done. Hassan the Undying, true to his name, has launched an escape ship. He won't get far, but first we'll have to deal with these remaining fighters. I'll admit amid the conflict I wasn't even aware of their presence. But when targeted they go down in a couple of shots. Now to deal with Hassan. We have 2 options. We can kill him, enact some Wasteland justice of our own, or we can capture him and bring him aboard to the brig. This feels like a test of Starfleet morals. We spent a lot of time out here in the ass end of nowhere, surrounded by unscrupulous individuals who would no doubt cheer to see Hassan dead. But as tempting as it would be to end him here and now, it's not the Starfleet way to shoot down a defenceless man. We'll take him prisoner. although it's mighty tempting. We return planet-side to talk to our contact Horace Jones. He informs us that looking through Hassan's database reveals that he sold the Thalaron triggers to a group of Remans, a species long since subjugated and allied with the Romulans. We collect a melee weapon as a reward, either a Klingon Bat'leth, a Vulcan Lurper, or a Sunkatsi Falchion. After we turn in the mission and collect our reward, the next phase begins, and Horace advises that we speak again to Law, the Romulan peacekeeper turned informant for the Syndicate we met last part. Accessing his usual console, we find that he's not present. In fact, he warns us that the Gorn have been shadowing us since we arrived here, and now that Hassan is out of the picture, they're sending an assassin after Commander Mark Hale, my captain. But Law, inspired by recent events, has decided to repay us and confront our would-be assailant himself, even though he thinks it'll cost him his life. I guess Law isn't as slow on the draw as he thought he was. How nonchalant of him to swagger back and say that now he's embarrassed he's still alive. Makes it all the less dramatic. Yeah, thanks for that, Law. I am actually pleased to see him alive. Alright though now, down to business, the Tal Shiar. Now that Hassan's gone, there's nothing tying his lips. So, where are they? He tells us that Hassan has a satellite array that he's been using to stay in contact with the Orion Syndicate, but that complex may be the location of the Tal Shiar. It's funny. We've been lured here to deal with the Tal Shiar threat, but since arriving seen no hide nor pointy ear of the Romulan Star Empire. This is a good example of how the Tal Shiar operate behind the scenes. Tracing them down is a nightmare of deals, backstabbing and tracking information. I think it's missions like this one that serve to make the Tal Shiar feel like a separate entity from the Star Empire. Sure, we fight them a lot, but from the outset in combat they seem no different from the standard enemy Romulans, despite the narrative posing them as much more of an insidious threat. There's also a sort of bug here where you won't trigger the next quest marker until you reach the lip of the canyon to the south of the map, as you'll have to work your way up the crevasse to reach the satellite's base. Heading down, we need to operate a number of terminals to disable a lockout on a console at the end of the canyon. The ravine is populated by Gorn separatists, those who have broken away from the Empire in an attempt to win back their independence from the Klingons. However, they retain this xenophobic tendency of the race and aggressively attack anyone in their canyon. These are probably the same Gorn that wanted to make a grab for power by taking out the guy who dealt with Hassan. Wonder if they even know they're protecting the Tal Shiar. I mean, some of these Gorn do possess codes for entry into the satellite installation, so I'd speculate that the Tal Shiar have independently made a deal with them to secure the canyon and base. But this satellite originally belongs to Hassan the Undying, who has his own partnership with the Romulans. So this means that the Gorn separatists were at least willing to cooperate with Hassan, despite now wishing to overthrow what remains of his crime ring here on the planet. This is a good example of how the criminal powers of this world are kept in balance by leaning on each other, but you remove one pole and the balance of this tent begins to shift immediately. The added security detects tampering. Well, in that case, our tech guy Scavrin simply suggests that we bypass this by severing the actual connection physically at various points. Despite there being 3 visible cables, we've got to sever it in 5 places. Okay then. Once finished here, we round up the passcodes from the patrolling Gorn and press on through the canyon to its very end. This is never really a dangerous journey. The biggest risk is attracting the attention of too many patrols at once. You should be aware of the snipers lining the southern ridge of the canyon, though there are often other teams of players operating in the area, making the push significantly easier. We can follow the cables most of the way until they arch away from an entrance buried in the rock face. This must be our destination. To the right hand side as we enter there's another transporter pad for us to log into, allowing for fast travel to this location. Looking around we can see that this seems to be a monitor station for the satellite transmitter towers above us. One of the screens shows Nimbus 3 with an active broadcast coming from it, so I guess this place is operational. Breaking into the security of the satellite systems thanks to our earlier sabotage, we can intrude undetected. The hack takes the form of a minigame reminiscent of the one we performed earlier in the watering hole, but this time each number should be double the previous. The system allows us access, grants us clearance to enter the satellite proper, and with that, we just have to continue to the satellite installation itself, which we can do quite easily by following the cables. Fortunately, the journey out of the Gorn Canyon is uneventful, and we emerge onto the desert as rock gives way to an ocean of sand. Looking around we see that with the sand come the sandworms of this world once again, providing another natural defence and a deterrence to protect the Tal Shiar base. It's quite easy to avoid most of these clusters, however you'll probably have to punch a hole through them the closer you are to the tower base. These structures are as weathered and industrial looking as you'd expect from the outside. They don't look big enough to support a secret Romulan base, especially with all the machinery that must be inside them. After all, it's not a facade, these genuinely are active subspace transmitters, and the dish at the top is slowly rotating, indicating their state, plus the very audible hum. We contact Law right before we enter, who then asks to accompany us after we're done here. I'll think about it. Right now, we need to contact Franklin Drake, our handler at Starfleet Intelligence. He concurs with our current course of action, and gives us the go-ahead to enter the facility, known as Installation 18. We get an opportunity to change out our away team, and then we proceed. Let's find out what the Tal Shiar are hiding in here, and why on Nimbus they need Thalaron triggers. Temet speculates that the Thalaron triggers weren't their sole motivation, as it's looking increasingly likely that they'd have just left once the triggers were obtained by the Remans. The only console in the room turns out to be the controls for an elevator. Well, this is how they hide Installation 18, it's underground. This explains the size discrepancy. I wonder if this has always been here since Hassan owned it, or if the Tal Shiar mined out a network for their purposes. Oh no, a light bridge. I hate light bridges. What if the power fails while I'm halfway across? No doubt it would be inactive if we'd forced our way in, but oh boy, it's a long drop. On entering the next room, a storage room, we get the jump on a group of Romulans and take them out as quickly as possible. It's going to suit us to try to maintain our current undetected state. The automated alarms that periodically detect us need to be deactivated. I guess the codes we use to get in here also work for the security system. If we fail to deactivate an alarm before it triggers, a security team will beam in to ascertain the nature of the alert. Aside from the containers, there's not much else to take note of in this room, aside from a couple of computer terminals. We find one terminal open to plunder, and we learn that there are experiments at play here. It seems that this computer doesn't have unrestricted access to the facility though, so we can't find out any more, so we best press on. Ah, a security feed. Looks like our access credentials have yet to be revoked, that's good, but were those biobeds we were looking at? Oh, we can't get in to verify it, but this does suggest organic sentient experimentation. Let's check another. Right, the coast is clear. Okay.
The test subjects are reacting well to the indoctrination procedures.
Indoctrination? Like brainwashing? The Romulans are conducting brainwashing experiments here. Okay. Didn't see that one coming.
We had a few casualties, as we expected. But those that survived should be able to start Phase 3 by the end of the week.
So there are fatalities. It looks like they're testing the combat efficiency of other subjects. These poor victims must include a significant number of the missing persons that have been vanishing around Paradise.
Proceed carefully. This patient hasn't responded well to the treatments. Watch those levels! He's going critical!
What the frack was that, alien? That is not one that I'd recognise. All the rooms are locked, so we press on. I wish we could stop to help, but we simply have no idea what exactly is going on here, and until we do, blowing our cover might be very bad. We crack open the door to a lab that we can finally access, and are confronted by a jumble of machinery, armed officers, and most worrying, tied down victims, subjects. I note that there is an alarm on top of that raised dais, so we proceed to speedily take out the officers with my new favourite rifle and deactivate the device. Right, lab secure, let's talk to these captives, perhaps they can help us, and if not, well, I'm sure we can probably help them. Rena Kev, the first person we save, is a freighter pilot of the Ken. She was abducted around Gusgo under the pretense of a Tal Shiar routine search for contraband. Interestingly, she's the sister of the Romulan Republic officer Kev, who is a stalwart ally of the Romulan Republic players. We free the other prisoners, the majority of which are still wearing Romulan Republic uniforms. It seems the Tal Shiar don't believe in prisoners of war, and we get some horrific details of the kind of twisted experiments that were conducted here on live and fully awake and aware subjects. Amputations, reattachments, and numerous mentions of mental intrusions and telepathy. Slamek, a Reman, was abducted from his colony world, and he's among those we save. We decide to press further on into the facility. It's a miracle we haven't been locked out of the system yet. Our override codes even seem to let us beam out our charges undetected. Temet suggests that we send out a false message to lure in the overseer of this installation. Spoke too soon. A patrol must have detected something amiss in here, because suddenly we're involved in a firefight once again. Who threw that grenade? Oh, you know what, our cover's probably blown by now anyway. Let's favour speed. Oh. Sup. Oh, I love this rifle. We let ourselves into the communications room. Hopefully they've not alerted anyone outside of the facility to our presence yet. So we set about clearing the room and are sure to deactivate the automated alarms once again. The Tal Shiar must know something's up by now, but let's not make it easy on them by giving away our position. Accessing the communications mainframe, we see that our permissions are set to read only. Well, that's no good if you want to fabricate a message. Let's have a nosy though. What's Installation 18's actual project goal? Let's see, establish a base on Nimbus 3, acquire Thalaron triggers from the Orion Syndicate. Here. Prisoners sent to Installation 18 will be subjected to Alachi mind control techniques and Romulan holographic conditioning, so a combination of visions and holograms used to confuse and brainwash individuals. The Alachi. That must be the unknown species we saw in the monitors earlier. We also see an ultimate goal of usurping the authority of the Orion Syndicate and acquiring their supply lines. It's, as I noted in the last part, the Orions were the only suppliers of provisions on this planet and levied their own protection taxes. It gave them significant control of this planet's populace, and if the Tal Shiar managed this, then they'd effectively control the pirates of Nimbus, another layer of people leveraged into their own defence. We also find a message yet to be sent to Colonel Hakiv from Operative 569482, detailing the failure to obtain the Thalaron triggers, definitive proof then that the Remans who purchased them were not part of the Star Empire. We need to authorise ourselves to edit this message. Alright, let's see how good Starfleet datamine algorithms are. Maybe we can receive fragments of the password. Alright, we've returned some results. E 5 blanks, n.1 blank.3.3 blank blank. Fortunately, the mine returned a list of potential phrases that could fit this password, so we just need to find the ones that match the present digits. Epsilon 133377. Entered and accepted. Alright, let's make some adjustments. We tell Hakiv that the Thalaron triggers have been procured and that we're awaiting collection. Before we leave, however, Temet detects life signs unknown to us. Must be the Alachi. We could attempt to capture one for questioning. Charging off down the corridor leads us to the facility's control centre, complete with Tal Shiar guards, a Centurion medic, and the tall, lanky alien we saw from earlier. If we dispatch the guards quickly enough, the medics don't have time to triage them, and with the Alachi stunned for the duration of the fight, it's only the commander we have to worry about as he hits hard. There are also likely to be Alachi heavy support turrets in here. During the fight, Tarsi is knocked down by a concussive blast from a grenade. Damn it, there's no time to check on her, we need to take out the commander first. With him down, the Alachi finally shakes off the stun and begins to fight back. There, now he's down, we can secure him behind a force field. Get on it while I check on my first officer. Well, that's torn it. The Alachi literally vaporised itself with some sort of failsafe rather than risk interrogation. Their commitment to secrecy puts the Tal Shiar to shame. Well, an Alachi prisoner would have been a bonus, but never mind. We'll have to return to the Armiger in orbit so that we're there to intercept whoever comes to collect those non-existent Thalaron triggers. Also, it looks like this facility doubled as something of an observation post, as it seems to have live feeds to the Hobus system alongside several other worlds. Regardless, now it's been discovered, the Romulans will probably have to abandon it, so let's beam out. And it looks like our contact is here.
Who are you? Will you be missed by anyone after I remove you from this universe?
Yeah, your mother's quite fond of me. The pirates we aided earlier also hail us, suggesting that if we perhaps forget about their salvage operations, they'll help out. They pull up alongside us and we receive another hail with a Federation signature. A Benzite captain appears on screen. Franklin Drake must have sent reinforcements, and it's reassuring to see them timely warp in behind us. I wish Colonel Hakeev had asked, "You and what army?" and then I could be like, "This army!"
This fight no longer interests me. Now that you've met my new allies, the Alachi, you understand just how precarious your position is. Run while you can.
With the tables balanced, the two sides square off and Hakeev beats a hasty retreat. The inevitable conflict is signalled by the sound of numerous ships powering up, so let's charge on in. 7 enemy vessels, 2 Mogai warbirds, 2 Pterodactyls, and 3 Tavaro light warbirds. We know how to deal with each of these, so we're just going to have to keep our awareness of their positions. Scratch one Mogai straight away. Alright, let's take out the Tavaro, thin their numbers a bit. Oh, brace for impact. Okay, we're drawing a lot of attention here, and this is not the ideal firing line for engaging an enemy ship. Alright, another one down. Right, the Pterodactyls are still far away, engaging the pirates and Starfleet. We'll fire a couple of shots their way, but let's take on this Mogai next. Oh, the pirates took out the Tavaro. Let's get away from that explosion. And the Mogai is sucked into oblivion under its own destabilised singularity core. Hey, I suppose Romulan ships seldom leave debris. You know, I bet this is why that during the first Romulan war between Earth and the Romulans in the 22nd century, no Romulan survivors were ever caught. Their ships were always collapsed into micro-black holes. And how did I guess? The Pterodactyls are the ones left standing. Oh, not for much longer. With the Tal Shiar presence exposed and rooted out, it's safe to return to Nimbus to tie up some loose ends. The pirates we allied with probably don't want to hang around our Starfleet friends for too long, and our Federation ships can patrol up here.
Hey there, friend.
Horace Jones, you vagabond, have you heard the news? The Tal Shiar were set up in the satellite array, Colonel Hakeev himself fled the planet after we lured him here, and Hassan's in Federation custody, and the Gorn separatists have been pummeled. Things are looking up for Nimbus 3, I'd say.
If you need it, I've got it.
With all that said and done, Drake contacts us. He congratulates us and tells us that he's going to start investigating the Alachi. For completing the Wasteland chain of missions, we receive a couple of ship armaments, the ability to call in our pirate friends for an assist, as well as a new warp core, or a singularity core if you're flying a Romulan vessel. So, we're all finished here. I'm going to the bar. I believe I'm owed a drink. These chains of side quests, while originally seeming to go nowhere, do expose the muddier side of the Star Trek universe, as well as the more outlaw style of life that can occur on frontier worlds, or forgotten colonies. Where it ultimately ends up exposes the Alachi threat, a shadow of things to come, and it shows us that every time we turn over a stone, instead of answers we find a deeper mystery. And that's saying something for the Tal Shiar. Thanks for joining me, my captain, and the crew of the USS Armiger as we explore the continuing narrative of Star Trek Online. And as mentioned, these side quests chronologically take place before the events of the away mission to Virenat, but they can be played at any time. Let me know if you'd like me to cover more of these side stories, as at the moment I plan to tackle them only where relevant, such as the mentions of the Alachi and Installation 18 that occur later on in the Romulan Mystery story arc. This was also the reason I didn't delve too much into the lore on the Orion Syndicate in these episodes, as I would save that sort of thing for encounters during the main questlines. Thanks again for watching, and until next part, I hope to see you around. Thanks again, and goodbye.